Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hi, my name's Emery Smith. I'm 46 years old. I was in the United States Air Force for 5.5 years, active duty, and reserve for 2 years and inactive for another 2 years. And in and out of different types of projects as a civilian after that because of my clearance and because of the job I held with them and other corporations that were funded by the government. I joined the military when I was 18 years old. I was in auxiliary of the Air Force when I was 13, and also was in Army ROTC before that. I was in the military for about 5.5 years active duty. I did another 2.5 years of reserve, and then another 2 years of inactive. And that's kind of how I got started with the United States Air Force, and also these compartmentalized projects, moonlighting in the evenings while being active duty and working for these underground labs that were owned by major corporations that were renting and leasing places on the base to do this type of work. And a lot of these were, of course, underground facilities. It was mostly tissue specimen examination and dissecting and taking parts of specimens. And I've done over 3,000 different specimens, not whole bodies, but just different parts of body tissues and whatnot to send for testing. They were testing everything. I wasn't really allowed to, in the early years, know anything about what I was dissecting. All I know is I had to go in there, take this part of this tissue, or dissect this nerve, or take this blood sample from this this specimen, and then send it away for testing. The technology I witnessed in the programs that were suppressive, that were suppressed still to this day, are things like anti-gravity, zero-point energy, a lot of 3D holographic imaging. Of course, there's a lot of devices that were reverse engineered by these corporations from government-retrieved downcraft and extraterrestrial DNA, along with hybrid DNA from these specimens that they use to make pharmaceuticals and to make cures with, and things like that. So there's always a positive and negative. They might make a gun with one thing, but the same device is used to kill cancer, on a different wavelength, but the same technology. So these things are all suppressed. So we don't have to live like we do now. We could actually have a lot of abundance as far as medical technologies, the cures for diseases, the abundance of water and food for everyone, and housing if these technologies were released. And of course, energy, free energy for everyone, and for all of our devices. So we wouldn't have to rely on gas, coal, and oil. I witnessed many different craft in these projects. I was actually working with the bodies and the craft because they're connected. A lot of the craft are organic material consciousness-assisted technology, which means only the driver or that race can actually operate the vehicle due to the frequency of the genetic DNA and the frequency that they're emitting. It's kind of like having a pet or a car that only responds to the owner. And these types of vehicles are so amazing. They're usually made in space through harmonics and frequency. So they can actually give life to a craft and infuse it with artificial intelligence or consciousness, or both, and match it to the driver or the occupants of this vehicle. Some of these craft were many different types of shapes. Of course, there's always the classic spheres, egg shapes, and the disc shapes. But there's also other craft that are interdimensional that can change shape. So they might come in the form of light, and they can manifest and change their atomic structure to become solid. So these types of crafts are a little bit more advanced, than the crafts that we hear about in pop culture, you see on TV and whatnot. These crafts can actually go interdimensional. They can change shape with all the occupants not even knowing it's happening, and then reform again in different worlds and different dimensions and different parts of the universe immediately. So there's not a down lag time, because they have their own atmosphere, they have their own gravity, they have their own little space that they have projected, from this craft that keeps them completely encapsulated with it. And they have already mastered how teletransportation and all these things, so the bodies can shrink with the craft in its own living space. And that's why they can go 1,000,000 miles an hour and make a right-hand turn, because they don't feel it, because they're in their own kind of like their own dimensional holographic world, where they have to fall under those scientific algorithms, such as like in the 3D here. As soon as they make themselves 3D, they have to survive in a 3D. So they have to maybe take a step down if they're from the 4D, 5D, 6D. So it's really interesting how these craft that we have had for many, many, many years, some have been there for over 30, 40 years, and some craft are very new. And we get different craft all the time. Like I said, one of them that I explained one time looked like an upside down Jell-O cake. And it actually, you could touch it and it felt like a memory foam mattress and had a hollow inside. This was about 40 feet in diameter, 50 feet in diameter, and it had like a 10 to 25 foot hollow inside to this, craft. And the craft was not hollow, it was solid. But for some reason, inside this opening inside the cylinder, the cylindrical, opening, were where the beings actually were. And it's open, but when it activates, there's a floor appears and it forms. So, but they don't really use floors, they don't use chairs, they're just kind of there. And it's a very interesting, it's a different thing. It's not like about a lot of buttons, there's no steering wheels or cockpit like everyone thinks there is when you walk in these. They're very seamless, and they give off energy all the time, even when they've been captured and taken down for 30 years. They still emit this amazing energy that they're harvesting from within inner space. It's a really, and that's what they're trying to figure out now, is how to harvest that. And a lot of them have figured this out, but there's a lot of corporations that are fighting actually for this technology. But we're way advanced, more than
overnight.
You think.
If we
a
were
few
able
thousand years,
to
anyone
get
would think
all these
humans
technologies
here
together,
now,
and
but
give them to
that's
the public.
what's being repressed. This type of technology. It would end gas, coal, and oil, because they prove ETs exist. First thing the scientists are going to say, well, how did they get here? They didn't get here in rocket fuel coming from 1,000,000 light years away. So how did they do it? Well, they're making their own energy. Okay, they're getting the energy from the vacuum of space. It's unlimited energy. It's right here, right now. I can just open it, grab it, and use it with the right technology. So the technologies that come with this could clean that up. It could clean up the big mess that's in the Pacific Ocean, all that garbage floating around miles and miles and miles. Fukushima, radiation, this type of technology can also clean that up within a couple of days, and transmute all that negative energy and all that trash. Cancers, disease, all that stuff could be, cured in just a couple of days with a couple of treatments using frequency and light from some of these projects. So life would be a lot easier if we didn't have to work so much to pay our gas, coal, and oil bills, and focus our energies in things we'd like to do, and also expand our consciousness. The people that are keeping these technologies from us are referred to as the Cabal, Majestic 12, the 300 major corporations that run the planet. So these are some of the pop culture terms that people use, to define, well, who's actually, making me, pay taxes, and who's making me, pay my electric bill, and this gas keeps going up and down, and the pricing and prices and stuff of all these negative things that we really don't need. I mean, I've had many memorable extraterrestrial experiences, too many to count. And there are a few that did stick out, that stuck out in my memories, that stay with me for a long time. And one of them was a visitation from some tall whites in a craft. And it was one of the first times I was actually physically next to these beings and was able to communicate telepathically and get downloaded a lot of information that was needed for me to disembark on this journey, which helped me tremendously. As far as the projects, it was always fascinating every year as you get higher security clearances to also see technologies and extraterrestrials working with humans that were actually was against their will at one time, and then seeing them becoming a family and being happy that they're helping us because they feel really sad for us. So I think some of the things of working hand in hand with extraterrestrials and these underground laboratories and whatnot, and being part of these projects and seeing that, wow, they're kind of just like us. They're just a little bit more civilized and mature. And it was a really big gift for me because I picked up on a lot with their energy and a lot of their teachings and educational scientific stuff, which I was just fascinated with. And it was very addictive for me to go to work because I just wanted to know more and more. And where's this going? And why doesn't anyone know about this? And, you know, it was later on that I figured, man, if this stuff got out, you know, what a blessing it would be to change the world and, you know, to help all the animals of the world and clean all the oceans and, you know, to cure my family of cancer and all these things was just flying through my head. So I think, you know, to answer that question, it was just working hand in hand with these extraterrestrials. It was a blessing. And also, you know, having special moments where you actually get to communicate with an extraterrestrial now and then to upgrade you and to also learn different sciences that didn't exist here on planet Earth. Because I was working on zero-point energy devices and getting more into that and having zero-point energy devices that actually work, and threats started coming in, and I felt threatened enough that if I did not do something, that my life was going to end very abruptly and very quick. And my past, you know, shows that with the amount of family members and friends I've lost in the last 10 years and lifetime that is correlated with, you know, this type of thing. So I believe that I had to come forward because I needed to get this information out to the people before it's time to go. So I'm saying, yeah, it's time to go. Okay, but before I go, let me get something documented and let's get, you know, all the paperwork in and everything I could possibly have and give it to people like David Wilcock and Gaia TV and other people that are in this, you know, that are working with me, you know, in this fashion to secure it and to investigate it. And to, if something happens to me today, I'm going to be very happy and satisfied and to know that, you know, I've done my due diligence and I have, you know, I got this out here. Plus, a lot of my non-disclosure agreements just ended, not all of them. And I felt more comfortable talking about these types of things. My life has been threatened significantly ever since I started opening labs that have to do with energy, creating energy from the vacuum of space and other types of devices. I noticed at that time, and, you know, I was a very successful person. I had 21 corporations. I had many patents behind my name. I had unlimited amount of money and funds. And when I started putting my funds and money into these labs that with these scientists that were developing all these amazing technologies, that's when I noticed they started interfering. And my life just started going downhill from there. And I knew, I caught on, but I thought I was kind of just, oh, that's not going to happen to me. You know, I'm doing this the right way, you know. And the government told me one time, they brought me in, they said, you know, you got to be careful. They said, you're protected, got your back, but you're not bulletproof. So think about that. So that meant for me, I don't need to be on any camera, you know, and talking about that stuff, about the energy stuff. But after that, you know, I started losing my companies. I had a lot of colleagues turn against me because of my belief systems. A lot of my business partners were very upset that I was doing, you know, CSETI work or I was, you know, in documentaries talking about new technologies, extraterrestrials. So real quick, you know, my life in that form, just because of who I was and slowly coming out and coming forward over, you know, many, many years, you know, being an informant for David Wilcock for 10 years, you know, and he wanted me way back then. I was like, no, it's just not time. Plus, people weren't ready for it back then, this type of, you know, I needed everyone to get warmed up to my speed, you know, so I'm glad like Corey Good is out there talking about this stuff. Greer's still talking about it. Wilcock's still talking about it. all these amazing people, you know, that you see at these meetings are talking about, you know, science and the physics behind it and trying to figure it out, and life experiences, which is important. And that laid the foundation for me to come along and say, you guys got it. You're all right. Good. Now let's go. Let's take it to the next level, and let me give you all my information. Hopefully that will, you know, put in those pieces to that puzzle that we all been waiting for, because it's been hidden for way too long. So working in CSETI too, it started getting, and the movie, series of documentary, they were definitely coming at us hard. I mean, I was actually jumped by 2 agents in my hotel room, was severely beaten and hospitalized, and there's I was actually on the phone with someone that was warning me at that exact moment. There's a attack imminent on you, and a couple of the people in the higher echelon of CSETI and with this movie. And I was, you know, like, oh, okay. Next thing you know, before I even put the phone down, I hear this ringing in my ear, and it was so excruciating. I just remember putting my head down, dropping the phone, and I look up, and what I see after this excruciating sound in my head is 2 agents, you know, 2 guys in suits, and they literally were beating the heck out of me, and I could not do anything. It was so bad I was hospitalized. And then I knew at that point, well, this is getting a little rough. And then I had many assassination attempts attacked on me, shot at, you know, on the highway, and just intimidation factors. You know, if they really wanted me dead, they would have already killed me. But, you know, in order to kill me, they have to get many signatures, I'll say, on that paper to have it done. Because if they killed the wrong person and they didn't use that person yet for the right thing, because there's, like I said, there's a good part. There's a lot of white hats in there that, you know, are trying to protect us. And I got to the point where it was like, it was just too much. I had 3 different people following me, surveillancing me, 3 different organizations, and it was just getting old, all because of, you know, they didn't want me to come out about Big Pharma. They didn't want me to come out about extraterrestrials. They didn't want me to come out about technology, because a lot of people out there that are coming forward, there's not too much background to them. You know, me, you know, I'm well established, have all my government papers, all my military papers. You know, everyone knows I'm credentialed to the max, overqualified for a lot of these facilities, which I recently, a few years ago, was going back and forth, reapplying to see, you know, what was going on with that. So, you know, I think me coming forward is going to bring a lot of really wonderfully educated, very well respected doctors and military personnel out. And that's another reason I came forward, is to initiate that and to show people, hey, you know, it's not as bad as it seems, but it's all the way you look at it and how far you want to go with it. And a lot of the people that I know are already in their 70s and 80s, you know, the people I worked with and worked under, and they're coming forward. So, you know, this is a new thing. I mean, it's not on film yet. So we have multiple whistleblowers now that I've worked with that do want to come forward now since I came forward. And they, you know, are making special arrangements right now for their life and for their family, because that's how serious it is. They're actually preparing certain ways they're going to live, and, you know, how they're going to protect themselves just in case someone doesn't approve of them coming out. But the thing is, they're having the integrity and the love to come forward like I have and just give it to the people. And I thought the people weren't really going to be ready, you know, for this. But since they've been prepped, you know, all the way up into this with all these fascinating speakers, like Wilcock and Good, that they're ready. And I can't believe, you know, when I look at my Facebook, all the responses and all the questions are so intelligent. It's fantastic to know that people are really doing their due diligence and listening to what I say and researching it and finding out, wow, there's definitely something to this, you know, and it's going to get better because I have a plethora of information. As long as I'm breathing, I can, you know, keep sharing with everyone. And that's what I'm going to do.